This is the truth behind ERP, what works, what fails, and what they'll never tell you. Ask 10 people what an ERP system is, and they'll likely say that it's software that's used to run your business. And while that answer is true, I think it misses the real reason that companies actually buy one. In this first video, we're going to explore what an ERP system actually is, and perhaps more importantly, when it becomes important to put one into your business. Hi, and welcome to the truth behind ERP. I'm Jonathan, and I've spent the last 15 years deep in the world of ERP implementations. I've been there at every stage, from writing the business case and running the tender process through go live and right into the messy reality that is post-implementation support. And over those years, I've worn a lot of hats. I've been a developer, an IT manager, a project manager, functional consultant, and a business analyst. And I've seen ERP from every angle, as the client, as the contractor, and as the partner, just trying to deliver it all. And here's the thing, no matter where you sit, you see the same painful mistakes getting made again and again, usually by good people trying to do the right thing, caught up in vendor spin, bad advice, or just not knowing what they don't know. And that's exactly why I started this channel. I want to share what really happens in ERP projects, what works, what doesn't, and what you'll never see in a glossy sales pitch. So if you're planning an implementation or just trying to survive one, you're in the right place. Stick around for real world advice, hard learnt lessons, and the wisdom, warts and all, that can help you keep your ERP project on track. If all that sounds good, please hit subscribe and let's get started. So what is an ERP system? Now, to understand what an ERP system is, you first have to understand how a business is structured. Now, this is a typical business before an ERP system has been put in place, and that business comprises different solutions which have been put in place in order to run the business. And these are necessary because as you're setting that business up and as that business grows and evolves, you will need these separate systems or different systems in order to run the different functions within that business. So in this example, I've got a sales system, a purchasing system, inventory, and finance system. Could be multiple other systems as well. Now, the common theme is that these systems tend to be disparate. They tend to be siloed. So they've evolved over time, they've grown over time, and they're completely standalone. They don't integrate with each other, they don't share information, or if they do share information, it'll be very minimal integration between them. These systems might have been bought in, they might be third-party solutions that have been bought in, or typically you might see access databases or other databases that somebody within the business has gone in and set up. And you will often see Excel used extensively within businesses to help run things like inventory and finance. So you get Excel databases, in several Excel databases within the business. Now, what an ERP system does is it provides a solution to the disparate nature of these different systems. So ERP, Enterprise Resource Management, is essentially it's a centralized software platform that's used to run a business. So you still get your different systems within the business. You'll still have a sales system, purchasing, inventory, and finance, for example. But these all form part of the same centralized software platform, and they are modules within that platform. So typically within an ERP system, you'll have different modules and you can configure and set up the modules that you need to use. And those would match those systems that you currently have within your business. But you will have one single database that sits behind the scenes and one database that shares data between these different systems in real time. Now, the benefit of that is it helps integrate the core business functions together. And what that means is that, say, for example, you raise a purchase order and get some inventory in via that purchase order through the purchasing system. That will have an effect on inventory, which then in turn has an effect on your finance system because the financial transactions are logged. and it makes that inventory ready and available to be consumed by the sales system. So you can see how it ties everything together in real time. And it means that any of these transactions, so you put a purchase order on, it puts that inventory into stock. If you raise a sales order, it will consume that inventory, and all of these will have the associated financial transactions associated with them. So that is a kind of like a textbook answer of what an ERP system is. There's obviously a lot more to it, but that is effectively what you will see if you look up what an ERP system is. However, here's the bits that I think is important, which is covered less frequently. Now, if you look at when a business needs an ERP system, um, it's you have to look at how a business evolves over time. Now, if we take our business again, we've got our business that's operating in this sort of siloed environment with all these different systems, but the business is functioning and the business is successful and it's thriving. So what that business does is it wants to expand. It wants to go into perhaps new territories, into new countries, and set up there as well. It will also perhaps acquire other businesses, and these will grow or help that business to thrive and to grow even further. But as this happens over time, what you end up with is a situation where you've got one core business and you've got multiple entities or multiple other businesses within that group of businesses operating in different areas or businesses that have been acquired and behave slightly differently and are set up slightly differently. They'll all have different systems. They might, if you're lucky, you might have the sales system in a couple of those businesses, but you're very unlikely to have the same sales system across the board. You might have Excel databases used across all these different businesses for running your inventory management, but you can bet your bottom dollar that they've been set up differently and they'll be used differently. You might have completely different systems. I've got in one of these businesses here, I've got a manufacturing element to it as well. So you can see that as a business grows and as a business expands over time, it just becomes more and more and more unmanageable to run this as a group of businesses. So if you're the CEO of this company and you want to see your sales information, but that sales information is held in different systems and the data's held in different ways, then it just becomes incredibly difficult to do that. So you end up in this situation where you've got lots of siloed data. You waste a lot of time trying to reconcile this data. You have inconsistent processes because the different businesses behave in different ways. This leads to disagreements about how the data should be managed and stored and who owns the data, which in turn leads to bad decision making. And it just makes it very, very difficult to manage the business. Typically, it's at this point that businesses start looking for ERP solutions. So, if we take that same multi business scenario that we've just seen, the true value of an ERP system is that it allows you to share data within that business or within each of those independent individual businesses, but also collectively. So I'm not going to go into sort of the setup of this because that's an entire video, an entire series unto itself about how you would set your ERP system up. But typically, you're going to have a single database that sits behind all of these businesses and collects all the data together. And this shared data is incredibly powerful and incredibly useful when you're looking to run your business. It also helps to drive process discipline because you're using the same system across all of these different businesses. So you need to look at, excuse me, you need to look at how you're going to run those businesses and make decisions about how the processes within those businesses operate. But this leads to improved coordination, improved decision making, and ultimately, it gives you unified business management. So, what I mean by that is it allows you to run a group of businesses in a much more structured and much more unified way. And what this in turn allows you to do is to scale your business even more. So you can grow the business much more efficiently. So if you're acquiring another business or if you're expanding into a different area and you've got your ERP system set up, it becomes much more much easier and much more structured in order to expand and grow the business. Now, there are signs that your business will need to um, introduce an ERP system. And this is typically that your business has grown and it's grown quickly, but your systems haven't kept up. So you've got all of these different systems, you've got these intentions to grow the business and continue to grow the business quickly and expand, but you just don't have the systems in place in order to do that. You might also have multiple sites, multiple warehouses, subsidiaries, and all of these have got different datas and different silo data across them. So if that's the case, sharing that data becomes incredibly important. You'll also notice that you're duplicating effort and you're duplicating work. The same data, the same information is being keyed in different places. In order to get reports out, you're having to re enter data multiple times in order to get to the reports that you actually need to get to. And your finance teams will spend so much time trying to fix the databases and fix the spreadsheets that you've got set up that it detracts from their day-to-day job. It stops them doing what they're meant to be doing and analyzing the numbers and helping you drive that business forward. And the leadership within the business, you can't therefore get one version of the truth. Every department has given you different numbers and different information, and it becomes very difficult to run the business. Now, these are your typical signs that you need an ERP system. And it is at this stage that people tend to start going looking for those ERP systems and seeing what's out there. So, in summary, ERP is a single integrated system that's used to run a business. Now, most businesses will buy an ERP system in when there are multiple businesses, multiple entities within the group, and the complexity and the chaos associated with running the business becomes so great that you need a solution that helps you to manage the ongoing running of the business as a whole. ERP in itself, it's about control. It's about standardization, standardizing of business processes, standardization of data, and about getting people to work in the same way. And by doing so, it improves coordination, it massively improves reporting, which in turn then helps with decision making within the business. And ultimately, that all means that it allows your business to grow and scale much more easily. So, thank you very much for watching. In the next video, I want to look at what an ERP isn't and some of the myths and some of the traps that people fall into when they start looking at ERP systems. If you have any questions or if there's any subjects that you'd like me to talk about or cover off, please do get in touch and please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you very much.